Good morning, everybody. In a typical move for Trudeau, after the Mark Norman case collapsed, he didn't return to the House of Commons to deal with question period. And we saw some of that on the 9th and the 10th. And just watching question period, there's lots of back and forth. Mr. Blair talked about a potential gun ban, and he said, we're going to do everything we can to protect Canadians. In context of the gun ban question, is your government planning on secretly banning guns? Well, we're going to do everything we can to protect Canadians. That's not a no, Mr. Blair. But Justin Trudeau didn't want to be in the House for that fallout, so what did he do? He went on a tour to shore up support in formerly Liberal strongholds, formerly Liberal places where he could count on seats, and now he's definitely in a battle for seats. Absolutely, 100%. The shine is gone from Mr. Trudeau, and he's touring southwestern Ontario and Edmonton, Alberta, to try and get some support. And it's not working, I don't think. Not at all. But here's Justin Trudeau's tweeting, quote, "A busy day traveling from Niagara Falls to Toronto with lots of stops and great conversations with Canadians along the way." Check it out. I wonder if the conversations went more like the sandbag guy or, here's what he's highlighting on his Twitter. Sure. Quote, "First stop, good food and even better company at Blue Line Diner in Niagara Falls. Thanks to @Chris Biddle and the lunch crowd for a warm welcome, even this little one who tried to steal my nose. Next, I dropped by Fortino's in Hamilton to hear from people about what matters most to them. A walk down Brand Street in Burlington makes for a lot of new friends. Shop is a local Burlington success story. Their cupcakes are world-renowned. Small businesses like this are what make our communities such great places to live." When Mr. Trudeau's Canada is burning between canola and China, between the gorilla in the room that is the United States and aluminum and steel tariffs, and this is how he decides to spend his time campaigning? I mean, I'm angry just because that's not what we're paying him to do. We're paying him to answer questions in question period or fix these massive, massive missteps, international and domestic. But instead, he's campaigning. Because make no mistake, that's what this is. This isn't prime ministerial business. This isn't the most important thing he could be doing today of the 100 things that need doing in Canada. This isn't it. And yet, Trudeau is looking at those numbers and saying, you know what we need? We need FaceTime. Yeah, really. You know what you need to do, sir? You need to fix the country or step down, because there are big problems happening in this country and you're ignoring them, and it's frustrating to watch. Here's an Edmonton Journal article titled, quote, "Trudeau's Goose is already cooked in attempt to sway Alberta voters." There was a moment during Justin Trudeau's visit to Edmonton on Friday when a noisy Canada goose perched above the Prime Minister decided to make such a nuisance of itself, there was no need for any protesters. The heckling, or honking, were so relentless at one point that Trudeau couldn't help but pause and answer to glance up at the sound of the interruption. Even the birds in Alberta, it seems, have little regard for the Prime Minister's message these days. Officially, Trudeau's visit to Edmonton was to tout infrastructure funding with Mayor Don Iveson, sorry if I've got that wrong, one of the few Alberta political leaders of any stature still willing to exchange pleasantries with the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, the event had a political bent designed to shore up what little support the Liberals might have left in Alberta. In that vein, it's not a stretch to think that Friday might end up being Trudeau's last visit to Alberta for some time. It's entirely possible Albertans won't see him during the federal election, especially should his personal popularity here remain the equivalent of public health officials viewing a measles outbreak. While the mishandling of the SNC Lavalin scandal has taken much of the shine off Trudeau around the country, Alberta's frustration has largely been built around Ottawa's perceived mistreatment of the oil industry. It's hard to imagine what Trudeau could do at this point to rewrite that narrative, enough to at least keep the 4 Alberta seats he won in 2015. Nothing. I'll tell you nothing. So that's the end of that. That was the 9th, and this was reported on the 10th. And I mean, it's interesting that that's what he's deciding to do. Campaign on our dime before the writ has dropped, and even while the House is in session. Yes, let's go campaigning, everybody. Let's talk about infrastructure spending. Here's another angle to Mr. Bernier's recent tweets. Mr. Bernier has been in hot water recently, or the press has tried to make political hay over this, and maybe you agree with him, maybe you don't. Both the tampon thing, the Liberals are now requiring businesses to pay for tampons, and Mr. Bernier says, that's not a good idea. Why do we need those socialist policies? And the issue isn't women versus men. The issue is having the government use their power to compel businesses to purchase personal products for women? What if they don't like tampons? What if they like pads? Will there be protests? And I mean, that is the kind of question that is really legitimate. I mean, when you're using the law as a bludgeon to compel businesses to do something, that is, I mean, it is difficult sometimes for businesses to comply. It costs them money. It costs them time and thought in HR and talking to the women to find out what they do want, because, there's selection out there because it's a personal product that you should be spending your own money on, not the government and not the business. It's just strange. So in that vein, and I know I don't have a link for that story, so I apologize for that. I just kind of went off on it. But Michelle Rempel picked up a story that has since been debunked, but the People's Party was being accused of removing a candidate because he was gay. And Michelle Rempel said, that's abhorrent. Well, I can't read her tweet because I'm blocked, but whatever. Not whatever. That's the point of this tweet. I've been blocked for a year because I asked Michelle policy questions and I wouldn't let her wiggle out of it by saying platitudes. She tried to say, oh, this is why. And I said, that's not good enough. It doesn't answer the question. Here's the question. And then I got blocked, talking about temporary foreign workers' pathway to citizenship and the illegal border crossers and the global compact on migration, because all of that was happening in 2019, in July of 2019. And the conservatives, sorry, not the liberals, had a press conference in 2018. Sorry if I said 2019 there, I meant July of 2018. They had a press conference to outline what their immigration policy would look like. And they laid down a path to fixing the numbers. And fixing the numbers means moving the people who are here from one category into another category, right? Non-citizens into, permanent residents. And now we have no backlog and no problem, right? Nothing to write about because they're all Canadian permanent residents, no problems. And that was my question. Is that what you're going to do? Is that how you're going to solve this problem? Blocked. Okay, well, now I'm removed from the public discord from Michelle. And that's okay because I just use an incognito window, but not everybody can do that, or not everybody's intelligent enough to do that. It's part and parcel of the same blocking and silencing conservatives that we're seeing on Facebook and Twitter and all of the other big platforms, YouTube as well. So it's interesting to watch this in an elected official in her public communications to block a private citizen who is a citizen of her country, who wants to see her interactions because I pay her salary. So it's interesting. So Mr. Bernier weighs in on this as well. And he says, quote, via tweet, "She has no respect for Canadians. She keeps acting like an entitled princess who cannot tolerate the slightest criticism. And her leader seems unable to keep this shameful attitude in check. We are public servants. Canadians have a right to see our public communications." And this is in response to Michelle Patriot says, "At Michelle Rempel blocked me for liking your tweets about her. I didn't even interact with her." And then number 2, he says, "Our by-election candidates," our being the People's Party by-election candidates, "were explicitly told not to block anyone. And I'm giving all new candidates, as well as our official EDAs, the same directive. You can use the mask function to troll for trolls and others who harass you, but don't block anyone. Mute function in English, masquer in French." So Mr. Bernier is clearly saying a People's Party position is that his candidates and his MPs will not block Twitter people. They'll mute Twitter trolls, but they won't block people from seeing their interactions. I agree with this. I don't block anybody on Canada Poly. I don't block people because, I mean, why? If I can't defend my ideas, if I can't say, here's what I think and why I think it, and then defend that against people questioning me, then I shouldn't have put it up in the first place, right? And if people are just being trolls, well, I think the people reading will be intelligent enough to figure that out. I can look at something and go, oh, that guy's just trolling. Like, obviously, right? And then I just ignore them because why pay attention? It's ridiculous. We're adults. We don't need somebody to police our communications in real time. It's insanity. It's crazy. And the idea that an elected official should be able to block somebody who's interested and actively reporting on relevant news. Like, it's not like I'm just randomly talking here, and it's not like I'm trying to pillory her. I'm not trying to get Michelle to do something that makes me angry at her. It doesn't bother me. I'm just reporting what's actually happening, what she said, and then when I think about it. Blocked? Come on, get real. So yeah, I think this is a grown-up policy for grown-up people who have the respect of their grown-up government. And Michelle Rempel needs to, well, grow up a little bit. Stop blocking people. Defend your ideas, Michelle. Defend them, because they're indefensible. Here's the last story for this morning. BNN, Bloomberg Business Network, I think Anyway, BNN Bloomberg.ca reporting. Rosenberg on Canada's record jobs claim. I don't give it an A. A loss of 7,200 jobs in March, and then a gain of 106,500 jobs in April for David Rosenberg. Canada's latest employment data just doesn't add up. Statistics Canada said Friday that Canadian employment increased by 106,500 positions in April, the biggest one-month increase in data going back to 1976. The country's jobless rate fell to 5.7% compared to 5.8% in March. But Rosenberg, chief economist and strategist at Gulfskin Chef and Associates, says the country's latest job numbers are hard to believe given what's happening in the Canadian economy. Quote, do you really believe that the Canadian labor market is so volatile that we could have a 7,200 decline in labor force in 1 month, followed by 100,000 increase in the next month? Is our labor market more volatile than the stock market is? It's hard to believe, Rosenberg said in an interview with BNN Bloomberg Friday. Quote, somehow we're creating records jobs, and in the same survey in the United States, they're losing jobs in a significant way. So what I'm trying to say is calm down a little bit. There's no way that the Canadian economy is nearly as strong as the numbers would like you to suggest. Rosenberg took issue with a few details in the StatsCan labor force survey, pointing to how most of the job gains were concentrated among youth and in sectors such as construction and retail. I thought we were battling a housing bubble in this country, Rosenberg said. Meanwhile, we know that consumers are going on the debt treadmill and doing more to repair their balance sheets than head out to the shopping malls. Quote, it's like you're a teacher in high school and your dumbest student just handed in an A report and you just really don't know what to do with it, Rosenberg said. I don't give it an A, by the way. So, yeah, right? The job market is, he's saying, looks like it's propped up on numbers. Looks like how they're calculating this is different maybe or whatever, but he's saying this looks weird, and if it looks weird, maybe it is weird. So pay attention, guys. This is interesting going into this election. The forces are coming together to, well, I mean, a lot of economists have been saying a lot of the markers are there for a recession, and we're overdue. And people have been saying that for years. And who knows if the stimulus or what is keeping the economy going. But there's a lot of people really worried, a lot of people a lot smarter than me, really worried looking at the Canadian economy and the investment flowing out of Canada, the revenue dollars from Alberta's oil. Those two numbers alone have economists going scary. So, and I don't know nearly enough about economics to intelligently talk about it. So that's why I'm saying it's smarter people saying, whoa, that's not good. So something to pay attention to. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca. I think we're ready for a grown-up government. Yes. Have a wonderful day.